Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Final Fantasy VII RE-CAST. The FF7 RE-CAST is a podcast dedicated to the Final Fantasy VII Remake Universe. This show is airing during the lead-up to the release of Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII Reunion. In Episode 4 of the podcast, we will finish recapping the original game, discuss the ending, and speculate how things might change in Reunion, which releases next week on December 13th, 2022. This will be the final episode for a few weeks, as we're going to take some time to play through Reunion, gather our thoughts, and come back for a spoiler episode. Hopefully, our minds have completely melded with all the FF7 Remake Universe changes that were made to Crisis Core, but for now, let's finish the original game.
All right, everybody, what's happening? It's your boy Uch. I'm, of course, joined by my man, Sweet Johnny Cage. The energy tonight is actually OD, I'm not even gonna lie, because I have been waiting a week for this episode, just like all of you that are watching, listening, whatever. And I've had to hold this in and had to refrain to even finish the concluding cutscenes for this game, and of course to talk to Johnny about this. So before we get into it, Johnny, how you doing today, sir?
I'm doing great, Pooch. It's wonderful to be here again. This is the episode I've been looking forward to for the past 4 weeks.
Yes.
You are the one who has not played Crisis Core, and so I've really wanted to see how you react to this, what your thoughts are of this entire game, the entire story, especially the ending, and I'm really, really excited to get into, how you think things might change with Reunion.
Yes, and specifically, yes, with Reunion. So I don't want to dilly dally. I want to just get right into this recap. I want to hear your retelling, so that we can get to that dissecting part, because I'm sure this one's gonna be a long one.
So, even though this is the last act of the game, there is a lot to recap. Like in typical JRPG fashion, a lot happens at the end all at once. And you kind of get the lore dumps, you get the exposition, you get the oh my god moments. So there's plenty of that. This is a JRPG, just in handheld form. Okay, so we last left our heroes with Cloud defeating Sephiroth and throwing him into the Mako pool in the Nibelheim reactor. Hojo showed up, taking both Cloud and Zack away to be experimented on. Zack spotted Angeal in the test room, who told Zack he had tarnished the soldier name. And that's where we left off. So, somehow, likely with Angeal's help, Zack breaks out of his test chamber and incapacitates the scientist who discovers him. Zack breaks Cloud out, and the two escape the Shinra mansion. We recognize the room they're in because this is the same room that Zack confronted Sephiroth in, as Sephiroth was reading all the research about Jenova.
Right.
So we know where we are. Zack carries Cloud back into Nibelheim, but is shocked to find the town looking completely normal, despite it being burned to the ground just the other day by Sephiroth. So as somebody who played 7 and has reached Nibelheim and gotten to Rocket Town, now has a tiny Bronco, what was your reaction to this, both back when you played 7 originally and now seeing it through Zack's eyes?
It's just so interesting that these events are reoccurring events, and it's always it's so weird because it's these characters that have some sort of connection with the Mako energy. Funny enough, it seems to happen to them. Like, they're the ones involved. And the other thing that I just wanted to throw in there with the whole Zack carrying Cloud part, I used to see these scenes in time, passing, well before this, right? Cloud, Cloud being carried by Zack, and I always wondered, what is wrong with Cloud? And the game explains that Cloud had an overdose to the Mako. And I was like, what? So this man's
Yes.
like sleep for so much of this like last part of the game. I just thought it was really, really cool. Like to know that was the reason. I mean, it's not cool to freaking overdose. I'll tell you that much. Like that's not cool at all, right? But to understand like that was the reason, especially since they were both being tested on. I was like, wow, like so Zack was that guy. He was able to like handle it. Cloud he was not able to handle it. And the like for the remainder of the game, like Cloud is just like a corpse, lifeless. So.
Yeah. Cool. I appreciate your thoughts. So you brought up a couple interesting points, but we'll get to throughout the recap. But so then Zack gets ambushed by Shinra infantrymen as he's trying to leave Nibelheim, and they exclaim that the test subjects are attempting to escape. So Zack defeats them and takes Cloud back to the mansion for safety. They're in a bedroom this time, not in the test room anymore. Zack speculates that Cloud is suffering from Mako addiction, just like you mentioned. In 7, they refer to it as Mako poisoning. It's interesting that they changed it to addiction because it's not like he was a willing participant in this, but it is what it is. I am wondering if they're going to change it back to poisoning in Reunion. So as they were being... Yeah, so the reason for that is because they were being held in tanks that were filled with Mako or some sort of Mako solution. Zack finds a spare uniform somewhere in the mansion and changes Cloud out of his Mako-soaked clothes. Did you identify this as like an important moment?
Of course. Like I was like, I knew it was gonna happen, right? Because it's like this happens in like anime. It's like, like especially when it's like on some prequel type stuff where you have characters that you're familiar from somewhere else, but then when they're there at a previous point in this overall story dressed differently, at some point you're gonna be like, when they get in the clothes, like when they get in the upgrade. And when that happened, I was like, this is where he gets it. It was cool. It was a moment.
Yeah. So this adds to him believing that he is a soldier because he has the uniform somehow, right?
Wow. Yo. You just blew my mind just now. Like, holy shit. All right, just keep reading, please.
Yeah, we'll keep going. So, Zack then finds a note in his own pocket filled with Aerith's... It's a note filled with Aerith's wishes, which she gave him on the last date. The note says her one wish really is to spend more time with him. And so Zack decides we're going to Midgar. So he takes Cloud and the two escape Nibelheim at night. So we pick back up on a shoreline. There's a lighthouse in the distance, which I feel like is supposed to indicate where they are, but that lighthouse... I've played 7 a dozen times. That lighthouse does not appear in the game, so I don't know where they're supposed to be. And I was thinking maybe like a lighthouse by Rocket Town, but Rocket Town's on the other side of the mountains. It's not the direction that they're going in, so I really don't know what it is. Doesn't matter too much. But Cisne shows up and attempts to apprehend Zack because she's still a Turk. He's an escaped test subject. She's got a job to do. Zack deflects her attack and then tells her, like, if you try to do this again, we're going to really have to fight, and I'm probably going to have to kill you. So Zack goes back to the hiding place that he left Cloud at, tells Cloud the Turks are nearby. He's talking to him a lot, even though Cloud does not respond.
Right.
But it's nice. I think it's like a nice thing that he's doing.
Yes.
Like, he doesn't just assume he's dead or he's going to die or anything. He just knows what happened. So he's like, I think Zack knows like he'll come out of it eventually. So he's going to just treat him normally. So he tells Cloud the Turks are nearby, so they have to rest for now and then leave at dawn. Cisne then shows back up, but doesn't want to fight. She calls Sung and tells him that she's lost the target, and then Cisne gives Zack keys to a motorcycle to help him and Cloud, to help Zack and Cloud escape. So, it cuts to the two driving across a bridge near Cosmo Canyon. There's a road sign that says Cosmo Canyon, and you can actually see the Cosmo Canyon Observatory in the background. So even though Crisis Core is not like an open world game, you don't ever explore the overworld. Here towards the end of the game, they do try to insert like locales to let you know where they are.
Yeah.
And it is, aside from Benora, it is consistent. Like it is like in if you were to go to the overworld map in 7, you would go Nibelheim, back to Cosmo Canyon, and then right outside of Cosmo Canyon is where we're going to go next. But first, Genesis shows up on the bridge, tells Zack that he's been injected with a modified version of Jenova's power, and then Genesis copies rip out some of Zack's hair and eat it, transforming into monsters. Genesis leaves Zack to fight the monster, and Zack's like, what the hell just happened? Why did this eat my hair? But he kills the monster, and then Zack and Cloud ride through the night and come across Zack's hometown, Gongaga. This is also in 7. Looks pretty much the same as it does in 7. But Cisne is there and tells Zack coming here was a really dumb idea. You knew we were going to come here first and wait for you. But she is kind, and she says his parents are fine, but that he needs to leave. So Zack spots Angeal on the cliffs of Gongaga and chases after him. Genesis monsters then ambush Zack, uttering the phrase S-cells over and over.
Mm-hmm.
Hollander, now possessing one wing of his own, shows up to tell the monsters that Zack's S-cells are no good, as he's already been subject to Soldier's mutations. However, the other person that's on the run with Zack, Cloud, has not been subject to Soldier mutations, so he has pure S-cells running through him. Zack then rushes back to Cloud, and Angeal shows up to help. Zack confronts Hollander, who he then defeats, and Hollander disappears into the live stream, so he's gone. Zack discovers that Angeal isn't Angeal at all, but it's actually Director Lazard, who's been made into an Angeal copy. It's a little odd. It's definitely very Square, very Nomura. It's just odd, but you go with it.
Yeah, I thought the copy things was like kind of like weird a bit, but
it gets absurd. It gets absurd at this point in the game. So the pair then decide to go looking for Genesis in an attempt to save him from himself. So they head to Benora for the final confrontation. So there's something here that I want to mention, and this is a part of 7 that you haven't necessarily experienced. But if you're okay with me spoiling like a midway plot point of 7,
that's okay.
There's like a there's like a big moment here. So Hollander telling Zack that Cloud has pure S-cells is way more important than this game like leads on. So Sephiroth, in the events of 7, Sephiroth is like enacting what he calls the reunion. And that's everybody who has been injected with Jenova cells coming back to him, or coming back to the Northern Crater, the site where Jenova was found. And so Sephiroth is able to control Cloud at moments because of the S-cells. Hojo is attempting to make the next Sephiroth.
Oh. Oh. Okay.
So they are quite literally all connected. Sephiroth, Zack, and Cloud.
I freaking knew it. I like when I said that, what was it, last week? Or the one episode, I was like, dude, it's like they're connected.
They are genetically connected.
Yeah. All right. Well, there it is.
There you go. So again, I think the idea was that like when Crisis Core was released 10 years after 7 came out, and 7 had become like a cultural phenomenon. So I think everybody I think Square just anticipated people replaying 7 before going into Crisis Core, or at least one after the other again. So they probably they'll figure it out. But that's the thing.
Okay.
That's the big reveal there. So Lazard and Angeal go to Benora to try to save Genesis from himself. Once there, Zack asks Lazard to watch over Cloud while he finds Genesis. And then he goes into the tunnels underneath Benora. So there is a side plot here that is told basically through visual clues. And I didn't know this until tonight when I had to look something up about a statue that we'll talk about in a moment. But in the official Japanese guide for Crisis Core that came out in 2007, it's told that Benora was once a site that Shinra wanted to build a reactor on. And so they like dug the tunnels to support that. but they discovered emerald weapon beneath the surface. Do you know what emerald weapon is? You haven't gotten to this point, and they're really not talked about in Crisis, in Advent Children or anything like that.
Oh yeah, no.
But basically, the planet has kaiju mechs inside of it to like that like come out in a time of crisis.
Oh,
and so
Godzilla.
Yeah, Godzilla.
Nice.
Exactly.
All right.
Yeah. So one of those mechs was found underneath Benora, and so Shinra bounced.
Okay. Yeah. They let that one go.
Exactly. And you can actually see it on one of the screens in the tunnel. It's behind like a crystal. You can see its shoulder pads. And it's like, it's really just an Easter egg, but it's like, I wanted to bring it up because the Easter eggs are important for Reunion, I think. Like, these little things, I think, are going to be a bit more obvious next time around because the graphics are a lot more clear, hopefully.
Right?
But yeah, so...
We can only hope.
So, Shinra found the weapon, bounced, and then they installed Shinra staff there to like act as villagers, and they built like a fake village around it. But then like time passed, Shinra lost interest, and so it actually became like a regular village. But like Genesis was like created in a lab basically, as was Angeal, and then they like sent them to Benora to like be quote unquote best friends and grow up together without them really knowing.
Wow.
But that's all in the Japanese guide.
Okay.
Yeah.
Man, that's crazy. You had to dig for that bit of lore. See, I like shit like that. Oh.
I did not know this. I looked up one simple thing. It was like an ad. It wasn't an ad, but it was like I needed to know one thing and then fell down a rabbit hole. Like it was
happens. It definitely happens. Yeah. Ooh. Okay.
So that's the emerald weapon sort of thing. Just a neat little Easter egg, but it says a lot about Benora and why it exists.
Right.
It also gives you like an idea of the location of Benora, or at the very least the tunnels underneath it. Because Benora is like never shown in 7, it's a town created purely for the purpose of Crisis Core. It kind of gives you the idea that maybe this is like on the northern side of the world. But who knows? Cool. So in the tunnels, Zack confronts Genesis, and Genesis is in front of a statue of the goddess. Inside of the goddess is holding up like an orb, and it's not explicitly said, but this orb is materia. And sort of like how Emerald Weapon is around, there's all these crystals. This is very similar to when in 7, Cloud, Sephiroth, and Tifa are going to the reactor. Sephiroth gives the story of how materia is made, and it's made from like concentrated energy from the life stream in crystal form. So the goddess is holding a giant piece of materia. And so Genesis takes that materia and then transforms into Genesis Avatar, and then the final boss fight begins. So after defeating Genesis in Avatar form, he transforms back into regular, although now he's no longer degrading for some reason.
Yeah, I noticed that. I was like, oh, what's this about?
It's never explained, and it's like another weird thing happens to Genesis later on, so I really think there's room for him to appear in Rebirth. But
I was gonna bring that up.
Banger.
Yeah.
So Zack brings him outside the tunnels, like just sort of like holds him over his shoulder, brings him out. But he finds that Cloud and Lazar are in a different location and that they were attacked by Shinra. But Lazard says they had help, and he points to an Angeal monster, the same one that protected Zack and Aerith back in the Sector 5 slums church from the Shinra robot. So it's the same monster. And that's when Zack realizes that this monster is likely like Angeal in his final form. And so he breathes Angeal. The monster disappears, and then he finds a note. And this note is actually a letter from Aerith. And she says that this is her 89th letter to Zack, and that 4 years have passed since they last saw each other. But up until this point, the player, if they had not played 7, so Ryan, or
That's me.
Zach in first person, thought that this was just happening over the course of a few days, but it has been 4 years.
Yeah. I was actually speechless. I didn't know what to say or think because I was like, how is this possible? Like, how did they just slip in a 4-year time skip? Like,
Exactly.
it kind of makes me wonder, like, maybe all of this happened while they were in those tubes.
All of what?
Like, the time that just passed. Because, like...
Oh, it did.
There it is. Boom. I figured it out again. Let's go. All right. Continue.
Yeah, so 4 years have passed, which means that the events of Crisis Core take place over effectively 5 years, because this is actually the second time skip of the game. There's like a 1-year time skip after Angeal goes missing. Yeah, so there's a second time skip. And if you piece this together, that means that it has been 5 years since Cloud originally left Nibelheim.
Okay.
But if you go back and play 7, his story is a little bit different. Because he doesn't... Cloud at this point is not aware of the time skip because he's still messed up.
Yeah. Oh, my God. Yeah.
So this time is literally lost to him.
I think, yeah, a little bit more are starting to make sense to me now, I think.
Yes.
Yeah. All right, well, keep going.
Okay. So, after, Zach reads this letter, Lazard passes, and Genesis concludes the final chapter of Loveless, and it's likely that the gift of the goddess was just the goddess Materia, as the goddess did appear to Genesis just before his defeat. So I felt like watching this again, it was sort of like Genesis being near death and just like witnessing what he thought was the goddess. It's almost like a hallucination. But it's kind of weird because he's like not dead. So it kind of like kills that moment a little bit. And this is really the only time in 7 that like a god is referred to. Like Genesis is really the only one who refers to the goddess. Or like this play Loveless is the only time that there's a goddess referred to. There's no gods in the world of 7. Except for this one, and she actually appears. But again, it could just be a hallucination, or she looks like what Genesis thinks she looks like. Who knows? She appears for like 10 frames, winks, and he dies. Like, it's,
She like looks away at him. Like, he like approaches her, and then she like looks away, and then that's when he just...
Yeah. Like bursts into the live stream or something.
Yeah.
So that happens. And then Cloud and Zach leave, or Zach leaves with Cloud. And then Genesis is flown away by some Shinra grunts, but they look a little strange. They almost look like soldier grunts because they are wearing a soldier uniform, and they say that he's going to become their brother and that they hope he does so willingly or something like that. And that's the last we see of Genesis ever.
And also, they purposefully hid what their faces looked like. Like from the neck up, you don't really see, but I feel like they did that to hide that they could have also been like Angeal copies
or Zach copies.
Keep going.
That I just thought of that in the moment. Like, there's never a mention of a Zach copy, but you never know what Hojo did.
You are so right. Oh my God. The amount of like mind-blowing moments just on this podcast is ridiculous. So
it really, who knows? Like, I'm literally just speculating because they do hide their faces, but they are wearing soldier uniforms.
They are. Yeah.
So who knows? Okay. So Zach and Cloud leave, and then it cuts to the Turks. And it is rare in this game for us to see things not from Zach's perspective, let alone when Zach is not even in the room. This is one of the few times that it happens in the game. But Sung is sending Cisne out on a mission to find Zach and Cloud and save their lives because the Shinra army is looking for them and they are going to kill them. And then when Cisne is leaving, Sung says, I have 88 letters for him, meaning that he has basically been intercepting Zack's mail, likely as part of the Nibelheim cover-up. Because she's probably sending them to him at work, like at Shinra HQ. But they're not going to say he's dead. They're not going to say what happened. They're probably going to say he's missing in action or something. So he's been saving all of Aerith's letters, which really builds into the Sung-Aerith relationship that, like, he likely does care for her, even though he does really messed up things.
Right.
But yeah, just kind of an interesting thing. So, Cissnei bounces, and then it cuts to another Shinra chopper with Reno and Rude inside.
Yeah.
So this is our glimpse into that. This is like their introduction into the timeline, basically. This is the first time you ever see them. They're also looking, as part of Sung's request, but they can't find them. They say they're trying to find a needle in a haystack. And then we see Zack and Cloud hitchhiking in the back of a truck. This moment is the hidden cutscene in 7. Like, we see this exact cutscene of Zack talking to Cloud, telling him, like, what he's going to do when he gets to Midgar, this and that. Cloud is still unresponsive at this point. But the truck reaches the outskirts of Midgar, drops Cloud and Zack off. However, after Zack hides Cloud underneath a ridge, the army finds Zack. Zack attempts to fight them off, does pretty well for a while. And you, the player, are in control of this moment, which is why it hurts so damn much. But ultimately, they overpower him, and they straight up, like, they don't, I hesitate to call it a murder because he doesn't die in the moment, but they shoot him point blank many times.
They lit his ass up. No pun intended. Like, they really did.
So, after, like, the coup de grace headshot goes off, or chest shot, really, it starts raining, and then Aerith, it cuts to Aerith. She's in the church. She's now in her, like, updated Final Fantasy VII outfit, meaning time has passed.
Surely.
Like, she's 4 years older now.
Yeah.
So she looks a little bit different. But it starts raining. She looks up, and it's kind of clear that she recognizes that Zack just likely died. Like, we know that she can feel things on the planet and hear the planet, so she likely knows in this moment. Oh, you're, like, right at the moment of 7 where she starts doing that stuff.
Man.
I just realized. It happens, like, right where you're at. The next story thing you do, she starts hearing the planet. So, right after this, Cloud kind of comes to a little bit. He crawls over to Zack, and he's not really communicating. Zack is telling him things, and Cloud is just repeating everything he's saying.
Yeah.
And it's kind of clear that he, like, doesn't fully understand what's happening. But Zack dies, and in that moment, Cloud grieves him and tells Zack that he won't forget him, even though we know he does.
Yeah.
So it's a very sad moment, but Zack passes on the Buster Sword to Cloud, which is how he comes to have it, and he tells Cloud, "You are my living legacy. My dreams are your dreams." So, in a weird twist of fate, we know that Zack meets Aerith, and in a way, he really is Zack's living legacy because they get to be together.
Right.
At least for a brief moment.
Yeah, for a little bit.
So, Zack dies. Cloud is now dragging the sword towards Midgar. Still pretty messed up. And we find out later on in Final Fantasy VII what really happened to him after that moment. But after the credits, the opening cutscene from Final Fantasy VII plays out, with Cloud introducing himself as Cloud, Soldier First Class, closing the loop on this story. And the teaser at the end says, "To be continued in Final Fantasy VII."
What a story. What a freaking story. Oh my god. So, after I finished this cutscene, do you want to know the first thing I did?
Did you cry?
I actually didn't because for me, like,
watching it is different than playing it.
Yeah, like, for me, it was expected. I just didn't know how he was gonna, like, ultimately pass. So I didn't have that moment, obviously. I was just more sad, like in more of like a damn way, you know? Like
Yep.
like the fact that, because like the cutscenes that I got to watch off of that video, like the person who put it all together, they do include a tiny smidgen of gameplay. So you get to see like some of the
You're
moments.
talking about the folks on YouTube that we watched to like
Yeah.
recap this. Yeah.
Yeah, so like I got to see Zach like struggle swinging the sword and getting shot.
He's at 1 HP the whole time.
And like and they literally like they try using the cure materia, the heal, you know, and like they're getting their life back. And like this dude during their playthrough got like some good swings in on like one of the three Shinra soldiers, but
Yeah, I think they have infinite HP.
yeah, I feel like it's safe to assume that, just because like at certain points in video games, like there's sometimes will be fights that you're not supposed to win.
Right.
So that was very clear, even though they made it seem like, oh wow, like he was holding his own for the majority of like this ambush, because he was like fighting an army of these soldiers. And
And there's a lot of broken swords and broken helmets on the ground at the end. Like,
yeah, he put
definitely
work
gets
in.
them.
So, like, I can only imagine what this is gonna look like in Reunion if it ends the same. Oh,
right.
But yeah, I thought that was really. I was like, damn, like so last week I predicted like he was gonna have his hero moment, right? Like, and in a way he did, because he fought to the end, but then I guess when he saw that Cloud was alive still, and you know there was no more fighting, and he passes on his like he pronounces him as his living legacy, and his dreams and his and everything is his now, and he literally, it's like he puts all of that embodied into the Buster Sword as he passes it on to him. And like at that moment, and I'm pretty sure he even says this, he's like yeah, like does this count as me being like a hero or something like that? Like, I'm paraphrasing, but he said something along those lines.
Yeah, like his like dying thoughts were, so did I become a hero or something like that?
Yeah, and honestly, I would count that, right? Because
Sure.
as a hero, you're one of the main priorities is to protect everyone around you, and his
Embrace your dreams, protect your honor as soldier.
there it is, word for word. And he hid Cloud because this entire time, ever since Cloud was like not all there and like basically just a shell, he was treating him like he was very much alive and taking care of him and all that kind of stuff. And he still made sure till the very end that he would live, and he did. And then he told him, he said, "You're gonna live," and like carry all that. And I'm like, oh my god, like that is so sick. So yes, he died a hero. Literally, he died a hero. Or did he? Because we don't know. We don't know.
So, I don't know the last time you watched Advent Children was, but the opening shot of Advent Children is Cloud, like, putting the Buster Sword in dirt overlooking Midgar. It's the same spot.
Oh my god. Oh,
I love how you don't know these things.
Yo, because all right. All right, here's the thing, right? So my quick little, not really a recap, but like little tidbit side note about Advent Children for me is, yes, I have seen the movie at least a few times, because back when it was like, you know, released on DVD, like I remember they had like one of those like collector DVD sets that was like a black box and it had like a bunch of postcards in it. I had that first. And then when we were telling the story about the whole Final Fantasy 13 Japanese demo that came with, or that came with the Advent Children Complete that came out of Japan that you had to import, we both got that. And I had that, and I watched it, of course. and I knew that this took place after the events of Final Fantasy VII, but I didn't feel like it really spoiled a lot, even though I kind of got a hint. I'm like, oh, where's Aerith?
Mhm.
And so, you know, but it like I'll be honest, like I have been this entire time. It's been years since I've actually watched Advent Children. So my thing is, I plan on once I beat the original 7, I'm rewatching that movie again, just so
I
that
might rewatch it in the next couple days. I've been fiending.
Well, you know what? I could probably, you know what? Screw it. I'll probably watch it again too, just because I am hooked on all this 7 stuff, right?
Me too.
And the fact that you said that, like, because I just saw it,
Yeah.
everything's a callback. Everything's a callback, bro. But what
Yeah.
were you gonna say? Go ahead.
No, I was just sighing.
Oh. Yeah, like the thing that I was gonna, like what I was trying to start off saying before, like guess what I did after I was finished with watching these cutscenes?
What'd you do?
I went and I needed to see the remake ending because I wanted to.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But see, here's the thing. I didn't get to the part that I wanted to see, which was the part where Zack is coming out with Cloud in that shot when they're walking across towards Midgar, which is the same part that Cloud was walking by himself at the end of Crisis Core.
That is correct.
So I think, and it's safe to think this, something is happening where there's this is an altered reality that the remake itself presented us with. Because clearly there was a bunch of indications and clues from everything else that was happening in that game to say just that. And so with that moment at the very end when they're playing that song and like the game is done, you beat Sephiroth, you know, dude, the thing with the edge of creation, Sephiroth has a conversation with
7
Cloud.
seconds remain.
Bro. Dude, we are in alternate reality territory. Something happened.
See, you don't even know the importance of the song that's playing during that scene because you haven't been there yet. You don't go to the Edge of Creation in 7.
Yeah,
not a thing.
Yeah, no.
But the song that's playing during that scene is very important.
Yeah.
And it's almost like why that scene matters.
I will be that song's a banger.
No, not that song. Not that song.
That one? Oh.
The one that's playing when Sephiroth and Cloud are at the Edge of Creation.
Oh, see, yeah, I didn't get to finish watching it again because you know.
It's that song. That song is incredibly important.
Yeah, that's what I just can't wait to play Reunion, especially after watching this and then trying to I'm gonna go back and finish those cutscenes again from the end of Remake because I want to see that through because it is clear as day because even though it's been 2 years since I played Remake, I totally forgot about this Edge of Creation stuff. And I have a good reason because when I was playing 26, 27 hours straight, you know, I was a little delirious, but I was still like, what is happening? All this stuff. Like I was running on no sleep. I somehow managed to beat Sephiroth and all this whole cutscene is happening. All this Edge of Creation. I totally forgot. So I'm watching this now with some rest in my system. Right. And here I am just like, dude, this is insane. Like what they're setting us up for is going to be actually crazy. So I really think that Zack, that version that we saw at the end of Remake, I feel like they gave us the ending of Reunion.
That is entirely possible. That is entirely possible. I feel like they're doing this remaster of Crisis Core for a few reasons. Like, with it being a modern game, it has to be voiced. Like
Absolutely.
everything has to be voiced. So they're bringing the voice actors from Remake into this. I would say at least for the major characters doing like Zack and Cloud and Aerith. And so I think when you do that, like they're making it match for a reason. And I don't think it like, yeah, you could say it's just convenience. Like you're making one Final Fantasy VII game, so you got to make another one with the same voice actors. But like up until this point, they did not match. They were different people. And so I think the characters from Crisis Core are going to be like really important in Rebirth. And a friend of mine thinks that you're going to play as Zack in Rebirth, at least in certain parts.
I said the same thing.
Yeah.
I said that as soon as I finished Remake. I was like, oh, he's playable. He like,
Right.
I was like, I don't even know what happens in Crisis Core. This was back then. I was like, I have no inclination. All I know is that he dies in that game. That's his game.
Mm-hmm.
But then that happens. And I'm like, nah, bro. Zack is going to be somehow. I don't know how. And now I know. Like, and Sephiroth kind of tells us too. Like, he says like things are like merging or something like that. Like, and but not yet. Like he was making a point to basically let you know, like to warn you as the player that there are certain things that are combining or coming together, but the time is not right just yet.
Yeah.
Dude, this is like, this is a crazy stretch, but imagine at some point there is a moment where we see this Cloud and then we see like the freaking PlayStation 1 Cloud, all like boxy and everything. Like it would look ridiculous, but
well, there's a way they can do it. Did you play Resident Evil 2 Remake?
nah, I never played well, besides 6, I never played any other ones.
So they had a DLC like a year after the game came out or something like that, or sometime after the game came out, where you could they were like skins for the 2 playable characters, and it was the polygon version.
Bro,
It was
Polygon
really
Cloud.
funny looking, but it was like, it's doable. It's very doable.
I have a wallpaper actually that I installed on my computer, and it's like the picture is it's Cloud, like Remake Cloud, and then original Cloud, and they're like holding hands and they're like looking down at like one's looking at each other, like one, and the other one's looking up at the other, and it's like a really cool scene, and that just made me think. I'm like, bro, that might happen if it's like all this converging and all this stuff. Like, I don't know. It's like they're really playing with this multiverse, like different timelines, and like they're all connected. The live stream, bro, this is gonna be crazy.
So the final line that Sephiroth says in Advent Children, so Cloud, does Omni Slash or whatever, and then he says, stay in my memory where you belong. Sephiroth says, I will never be a member. So I feel like that could have been, Nomura's way in to doing a multiverse story, or at the very least, like Sephiroth coming back in the past. Like Sephiroth says, like you could extrapolate that Sephiroth said he was going to do this. Like,
and also Aerith can feel that, and it's almost like she knows what's happening, but she's not trying to say nothing.
Her and Red 13 know.
I'm telling you,
I think
man.
Red 13, when Aerith touches Red 13, he like gives her a look. Like it's a very obvious look.
Oh,
of,
like
what? Like
yeah.
it sort of like unlocks something in him.
She showed him what she saw. Oh my god. This
And while they're fighting the Arbiters of Fate and they're being shown their future of the original game, I think Barrett or somebody says like, what is this? And Red 13 says, a glimpse of our future if we fail here today.
Whew. Yo, this game, listen, Rebirth.
Why do I remember all these lines?
Dude, no, this is
why do I
it's
recall
important.
this?
It's important that you do. It's a blessing, because I think the Game Awards next year, they should not have ballads. Okay? They should not. They shouldn't even have contenders. Whatever other games come out next year, cool. Don't even give a single acknowledgement to any other game except Rebirth next year.
Well, Rebirth is definitely going to be 2024.
Oh, I thought it was coming out next year.
It's winter. It's next winter.
Yeah, so like 2023 winter, right?
That's December, but then you also have January, February, and March.
Oh, so, damn.
I fully expect it to be 2024. I'd be over the moon if it was Christmas 23, but I don't think it's going to be.
Yeah, see, that was my thing, man. I thought that's the territory we were heading towards, but either way,
it'd be nice.
Yeah, either way though, this story, and you know the funny part is, I actually remember, like, it wasn't like a vocal majority, but there was like a small minority of players that I heard that were disappointed with Remake because it wasn't it wasn't just a carbon copy of the original. And I'm like, hold up. So you mean to tell me that when a studio behind a game, they decided instead of just doing just that, right? Just, making their bag and then dipping. Instead, they're expanding upon what is known and adding way more love to it and way more story, and y'all are gonna complain about that, saying like, oh, it's not the same. What? It's way better. Like, it's way better.
That remains to be seen after part 3, but I agree, like 7 Remake. So because of this podcast, I have been like kind of fiending for Final Fantasy and just thinking about Final Fantasy a lot.
Me too.
Not just 7, just the series in general. And there are 2 Final Fantasies that I still to this day have not finished. That's 13 and 6. 6, it has nothing to do with the quality of the game. It's a fantastic game. It's just for the final dungeon, they make you split up your party into 3 different parties. And if you have not spent time leveling your other people, you're kind of screwed. And so I was just like, I'm not doing this.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I've been replaying it, and I plan on finishing it. But in the past 2 weeks, I went back and finished 13. And 13 was very controversial when it came out. I didn't like it. I still don't love it. But playing it now, after having played 7 Remake, and thinking about things from a more like holistic product kind of view of like the Final Fantasy franchise, there are ideas in 13. There are ideas and systems and mechanics that got their start in 13 that were perfected in 7 Remake. And so I've started putting this on Twitter, like 13 had to crawl so 7 Remake could sprint.
Can't fly.
And like, yeah, right. Like, and it's fitting that the trial version or the demo of 13 came with Advent Children complete in Japan. Like, I don't know why that matters, but it's like, it is, and they have said that like 7 Remake wasn't greenlit until I think like 2013 or 2014 or something like that. Like, it took a long time for that project to get greenlit. But I have to imagine that when they were starting on 13, on 7 Remake, even when it was with the external company that ultimately didn't get to finish it, I have to imagine that they were like, look at 13 and bring that to the next level. Because like in 13, it's mostly AI controlled except for one character. And in 7 Remake, you get to select all those characters, but it's very similar camera angles. But now you can also move in combat, whereas in 13 you're just kind of stuck and the characters move on their own. Like, it's very clear that there are ideas in 7 Remake or systems in 7 Remake that got their start in 13. And so I kind of don't know why I brought this up.
It all relates. You were saying that like 13 had to crawl so that Remake could walk, or
yeah. I guess I don't remember the genesis of this idea, but yeah, point being, like, I guess I don't know what my point is, but yeah, they're all great. And like, as a franchise, like, doing things again, like, I feel like a carbon copy, like, would have been worse. Like, you have these ideas. You have these ideas from the previous games, and if you look at them in a timeline, it's like, yeah, 1 through 9 were turn-based. 10 was turn-based as well, but now you could switch party members on the fly. So it was a bit more action-focused. 11 was online. 12 was trying to be like an offline MMO in a way, where like you assign properties to AI characters. And then 13 kind of does the same thing, but a bit flashier and with control of at least one character. 15 is rough. Like, being able to move in the field is great. Like, move during combat is great in 15, but your other 3 party members are AI controlled. And that started out as a PS3 game. That started out as part of the 13 project.
It was
that
versus
Final Fantasy
13. I'll never
versus
forget
13.
that. Part of that Nova Crystallis or whatever.
Yes.
The Fabula
Yeah.
Nova Crystallis? I think something like
Yes,
that.
exactly. And so after 15, it came 7 Remake. And so 7 Remake took all those ideas from all the 3D, like the PS2 and PS3 games, and said, here's how we're going to do it right. Like they all had to exist.
Yeah.
And so I feel like it would be worse off if it was just a carbon copy. And like, we wouldn't be doing this right now if 7 Remake was a carbon copy. Like, I wouldn't be like so hype about Crisis Core. Like, I'm avoiding reviews, and reviews are out. And Square has been very honest in saying, like, it's a remaster. Like, this is not on the scale of Final Fantasy VII Remake. Great. It's a fucking PSP game. Like, it shouldn't be. There's a lot of filler in this game, and nothing short of a full Final Fantasy VII Remake style remake is going to fix that. So just leave it what it is. But I would be disappointed if they didn't incorporate Crisis Core into remakes.
Dude, everything happens for a reason. Like I said in previous episodes, these companies are not gonna go out of their way they're not gonna go out of their way to just do it and then let it just be whatever. Okay, like, they know and understand how popular 7 is. And the fact that they decided to take this very grand leap of faith and be like as ambitious as the eye can see, as far as like fans like us go. Like, we're trying to dive in deep and look like into all of the lore here, especially obviously, you know, this being recast. Like, this is essentially hyping up towards Reunion, but this has everything to do with what they've started with Remake, because there's been countless times where we've been bringing up Remake and talking about what could happen in Rebirth and beyond and whatnot. And this goes back, and I will give an example to something else that's very popular that you're familiar with as well, Dragon Ball, right?
Mm-hmm.
When the Broly movie finally got announced and they were running the promotion, all the marketing for it and everything, everyone was excited and everyone was really looking forward to that film coming out like way later on in the year for Japan and then the following year for us here in America. Now, leading in towards that, they had the very rare like one-off movie appearances of other existing films. And to a lot of folks, they just thought, oh, this is kind of random, but cool, I'll go see it. Not to me, because to me, I was like, hold on, why are they choosing specific films? Where the two, it was 2 and then a special. The first one was like a double feature. They showed the History of Bardock special, and then they showed the first Broly film that you could go watch in the theater, right? And then, like a month or 2 after that, they showed Fusion Reborn, which is where we see Gogeta for the first time. So when they released the news about...
Is that Janemba?
Yes. Fusion Reborn is with Janemba's in there. So when they... Go ahead.
Not to get too off on a Dragon Ball, but Janemba's teleport, I still think is one of the cleanest looking things in anime history.
It is pretty cool.
Like, I don't understand why every teleport ability since that movie came out in 1993, 94, whenever, like, why no one did it again. Like, it's so good looking.
Yeah, I agree. I can agree with that. That's actually that's dope. But yeah, not to get too much into that tangent, because my whole point behind this is that when they released the news about those 3 movies and specials that they were gonna put in theaters way prior to the release of the Broly film, to me, I was like, oh, they're priming us. They're getting us ready for things, ideas, and characters to, that could possibly play a part in the Broly film. And then the Broly film comes out, and what happens? The first 5-10 minutes are dedicated to lore with the Saiyans. It was Bardock. It was Frieza. It was the Saiyans. And then, of course, the whole movie's Broly, so go figure. Obviously, there's Paragus. Paragus is Broly's dad. The first Broly movie, you see Broly and his dad, that relationship, whatever. And then the big thing happens. Goku and Vegeta fuse. Gogeta, since Fusion Reborn, you've never seen Gogeta unless you count GT. And this is the first time that it ever happened in that kind of, since then. And it's like a Gogeta versus Broly thing. So when you look back and you're like, huh, it's like they did that intentionally, because they could have picked any other film to just do like, oh yeah, we're just having Dragon Ball Z movie marathon. But no, instead, they picked like 3 specific projects. So I bring all that up to bring it back to this Final Fantasy, is that originally, like I said, Crisis Core wasn't even in the books. We did not know that they were gonna give us this 10th anniversary. Like they wanna like mask it with that. Okay, sure, 10th anniversary, cool, whatever. That's not the reason. The real
15.
Yeah, 15. Okay, yeah, sorry. Like that's how they're trying to book it, right? No, they know that all of what's happening right now is huge, and that what they're building towards is even bigger than what we're even thinking or what we're speculating. So everything is intentional. Like they're getting us ready. They're priming us. They gave us Remake. Then they gave us Integrate. Okay? Integrate was almost like one of those like, hey, you better have a PS5 or else you're gonna
yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like, we're getting towards there. And now with Crisis Core, they're like, all right, it's a remaster, right? But they love the rewords. Re-this, re-that.
Yes.
You never know. But unless...
It is called Reunion for a reason.
And it's called... They didn't have to do that. If it was a remaster, just call it Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII Remastered. Like how they did it with Final Fantasy X. There's a remastered version of 10 and 10-2 right on the PS4. I own it. Haven't fucking opened it. That's my own problem, right?
I think I've played that 3 times since it came out.
Yeah.
I still haven't finished 7
Right.
once.
Yeah. So, like, again, everything is intentional. The wording is intentional. The marketing is intentional. The projects are intentional. Even if, I'll tell you this right now, Johnny, even if the game overall is like the same as Crisis Core, as far as like, you know, some of the story and all the like the big checkpoints that happen throughout the game, I don't care if the whole thing is the same, but that ending, if that ending is a hair off, it's because it's belonging in this remake universe.
So I'm glad you brought up the ending, because there is one thing I'm going to be looking for in that ending, and that is a bag of chips. So in the ending of... So in 7 Remake...
Okay.
They, in the early sections, especially when you're in the subway going to the reactors to bomb them, Barrett tells you... Yeah, so you're looking to meet up with Jesse. No, Biggs. You're looking to meet up with Biggs to get to the Sector 5 reactor. So you're going through the subway tunnels between Sector 4 and Sector 5. or Sector 6 and Sector 5. Anyway, it's Sector 4. The lamps area is Sector 4. Anyway, your indicators of where to go are a dog, Stamp, or Stampy. I don't want to keep butchering it. FF7's Stamp. It is Stamp. So, Stamp the dog is like a mascot for a potato chip company. But Avalanche has like repurposed it and now uses it themselves as like the indicator of like, this is our secret hiding space or whatever. In the end of Remake, during the Zack scene, the first thing you see is a bag of chips with Stamp on it, but Stamp looks different.
Oh my God.
Which is like indicative that it's a different world. Now, it could just be that in the year between Crisis Core and 7, like from the ending of Crisis Core to 7, they updated the logo. It could be as simple as that.
Yeah.
But it was a very obvious thing to show. It's like the camera is just like in the dirt looking up, bag of chips goes by.
Intentional.
Yeah.
You see what I mean?
So what I'm going to be looking for in that ending, among everything else that they could possibly change, is what does the bag of chips look like if it appears?
Dude, I regret not taking off work for this game. I really do.
Yeah, I mean, it comes out next Tuesday.
Yep.
I don't have off either. I have off the next weekend forward, but for holidays, but
like,
yeah.
My whole with my stream schedule right now, I'm trying to beat Ragnarok in time for this. And I love that game. I love the God of War story and everything that it's like, cause I played 1, 2, 3 in 2018 in a month just for Ragnarok. And if I don't beat it before Reunion happens, oh freaking well, because
you're dropping it.
I'm not gonna drop it. I'm gonna put it on pause.
Sure, yeah.
But like, I can't miss a moment that I'll have with Reunion. Like, especially after this, after watching the cutscenes, and then like anything else. Like, if I go back and actually have time to watch the freaking Advent Children, and these ending cutscenes from Remake, bro, I'm sorry for anything else. Like, dude, I got Pokemon Scarlet sitting here, freaking still sealed. Okay, I'm not messing around. I need to see this, and I'm gonna be looking for that bag of chips. I might get some Pringles.
Look for the bag of chips.
Yeah.
You have to look for the bag of chips. There's that. I want to see like just see if they do anything with Tifa or Aerith, or if any of the Avalanche members ever show up. Because if you remember, in Intergrade, the Yuffie DLC for Remake, when Yuffie is going around Sector 7, you see Roche, the new soldier, the new character 7 Remake. You see the Avalanche members. I think you see Barrett and Tifa like going into 7th Heaven, being like, what happened to him? You know, like it's right after Sector 5 gets bombed. Like, they don't know what happened to Cloud. Like, there is a character living in this world, but now they're able to like build it out a little bit more. Like in 7, Yuffie never, that is not a thing. Like, that was the perfect way to insert a character laterally, like on the side, and like make it so they never interact with the main cast, but she's still doing stuff, you know? Like, so I'm looking to see like how can they do stuff like that in Reunion, even if it's just people standing around. Like, you know, like we talked about last time, like, or maybe it's 2 episodes ago, like when Zack and Aerith are together in the Sector 5 slums, are we gonna see the treasure hunter woman and her niece? Are we gonna see the kids from the playground? Like, or the hidden kids club? Like, are we gonna get Whack-A-Box? Like, what's gonna be there? Like, how can this tie into the broader world in very small ways that don't change the overall experience of Crisis Core?
Okay. Yeah. I really don't. That's like all the things that you're asking and saying is just furthering my points that this is not just a remaster. Like
Yeah.
they have set themselves up.
I forgot to bring something up. Oh my god, dude. Okay. Finish your thought. I'm so sorry.
No. This is important. Go.
In Remake, when you are with Jessie and you're like going to her parents' house, do you remember this?
Yes.
Okay. You see her mom,
Mhm.
but her dad is sick in bed.
Yes.
Her dad works on a Mako reactor
Which one?
and has Mako poisoning.
Oh my god.
It's the same thing.
Okay, so what are you getting at?
What I'm I really just wanted to point it out to you because you hadn't played Crisis Core, because you hadn't gotten far enough in 7 to know these things. Like, this is not a unique experience to Cloud and Zack, like Mako poisoning like that. Like, Shinra's doing it to people. Like, they're working on the reactor that's powering a section of the city, yet they're getting sick. You know, like,
Well, because they're
Shinra
around
doesn't give a shit. Yeah.
That's like, so it's like secondhand Mako is still messing people
Yes.
up. That's crazy. Mako's one hell of a drug.
And he acts the same that Cloud does. Like, he's like nonverbal. He can't talk. He just is like bedridden. He can't move. You know, like, it's the same thing.
I'm telling you right now, Reunion next week, Zack is not dying. I don't know how.
That's a bold claim, bro. That's a bold claim.
Listen, in this universe, I don't know how I don't know how it's gonna happen, but they should have never showed us that cutscene at the end of Remake. Shouldn't have.
Do you think the Whispers or the Arbiters are going to show up in Reunion?
I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't, because like if so, Crisis Core clearly takes place before 7.
Yeah, it's like 5 or 6 years before 7.
Right. So if and obviously they're giving us this, dude, they're giving us the games in the order that they released the originals. 7 came first.
Yes,
Crisis Core came out several years later. Remake came first. Crisis Core is reuniting like a few years after it's the initial release. Like literally 2 years later, almost like 2.5, right?
Yeah.
They give us different things and events that just didn't even exist in the original 7, especially in that first like third or whatever, like Midgar.
Sure.
Okay, and then they Edge of Creation, that big moment, the what's the word, those three figures, that the Arbiters.
Oh, the Advent Children.
Yeah.
Bosses.
Yeah, them, and then this Zack alternate ending that is just inserted at the end of 7, and then Intergrade. It's like, I don't know much about some of those characters that they had, like the bosses, but like, was it like one of those bosses like from another Final Fantasy VII game?
Yeah, Dirge Cerberus.
There it is. Okay, they're really going through it all in this universe, and they're trying to piece in just about any little thing that they can for this grander experience. And now that we're getting this part of the story again, I would not be surprised that there would that it's almost like Zack would go through some interesting events, which he already was, but now with all this added stuff, because 7 introduced all of this extraness.
Mm-hmm.
So it would make sense if all of that was already there, since it takes place before it. Because how else did Zack bring Cloud to Midgar? That's how Cloud started the game. The reason why he got to freaking Midgard was because Zack dropped him off and peaced. He's doing something else somewhere else, and we're gonna find that out probably by Rebirth.
Well, not to rain on the parade, but at the end of Intergrade, we get another scene of Zack opening the church doors and saying, Aerith? So, like, he goes looking for her.
So that just proves my point, Johnny. You literally just, you just gave me
I'm
more.
saying he's in Midgar. I wasn't sure if you were saying that he, like, leaves Midgar.
Oh, no. Well, like, yeah, my point was, it doesn't matter. Like, he's alive. Like, he's chilling somewhere. Like, okay. They left. Zack's in Midgar. They're gonna be doing all this world exploration. He's there the entire time. Like, he went looking for them. He went to the church.
It's a different timeline, though. It's a different time. Like, at the end of 7, they walk past each other.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's a different time. I'm not saying, weird time shit is happening. That is for certain, or weird universe stuff is happening. I'm not saying it's impossible. But, who knows?
Yeah, because, I mean, it would make, when it comes to this, it does make sense that Zack is, like, would still try to be in hiding. Because, again, they were trying to kill him and Cloud.
He doesn't know the Turks are trying to help him.
Right. And yo, imagine, remember, Cisne, right? You said before that after this game, you never see her again.
You don't?
Now, what if she appears again? And she's like, she gives them hints as to, like, yeah, like, your friend. And guess what? Cloud with the memory loss. He don't fucking remember nothing. He'd be like, who? Dude, it works out. Reunion, rebirth. This is, oh my God. Like, I just need this game.
What if, we have that scene at the end of Intergrade. Zack opens the church doors, says Aerith in, like, a question form. What if that scene continues at the end of this game? Like, the game is the exact same the whole time until, like, the ending cutscenes. And then we get, like, the bonus bit of, like, that scene continuing. But he says Aerith because Cisne's hair kind of looks like Aerith's. Like, it's almost like the same color. He thinks that it's Aerith in the church, but it's actually Cisne.
Oh,
and that's Cisne's introduction into the remake universe.
Yo, that would be sick. That I would take that too.
So what's interesting is in 7, you haven't gotten to this part, but, like, we find out that Tifa finds Cloud at the Sector 7 train station. And, like, he's still really fucked up. And she, like, nurses him back to health. So I think the events of the game... Oh, shit.
Uh-oh, Epiphany.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Gather it.
So, I'm going off of what you were saying. Zack drops Cloud off. He, like, finds out that Tifa is in Midgar.
Mm-hmm.
He knows that Cloud knows Tifa. He drops Cloud off, like, in the middle of the night, under cover of darkness, at the Sector 7 train station, and then bounces to Sector 5 to try to find Aerith, and the events of Cloud roll out the exact same.
Right.
Up until this point of Remake. Like, and he doesn't know that, maybe this is exactly what you were saying, and I'm just realizing it, and if that's the case, sorry, but...
you're good, man. It's all good.
Then Zack, like, pieces out, and, like, tries to find Aerith. I just don't understand why she wouldn't be there.
Well, it depends.
Maybe she's out selling flowers.
Well, so if you want to piece it that way, like where Zack drops off Cloud and then immediately goes to try to look for Aerith, then at that point in the story, then it would make sense for her to still be there. It'd be weird if he couldn't find her for whatever reason. And then, like, or he gets intercepted and then he's still on the run and he's trying to still hide, which would explain why, like, Well, yeah, I would think just off the context of the story that we've been given in Remake, I feel like him finding Aerith at first, like right off of dropping off Cloud, wouldn't add up, because I feel like somebody that we've been, acquainted with in the Remake game would have brought him up at some point. Like, we would have had more clues, but like outside of the normal dialogue that took place, including the part where Aerith says, "Oh, don't you know, like, Zack?" And then like that part is fuzzed out, and then Cloud like doesn't hear that. Zack is never mentioned or talked about.
So I'm on GameFAQs, which, is always a reliable source of internet information. But people here are saying that 2 months pass between the end of Crisis Core, like the ending moment of Zack's death. 2 months pass between that and the Sector 1 bombing.
That Cloud,
like the opening of 7.
Which, funny enough, I wanted to just add that Cloud is not actually a first-class soldier.
No, not at all.
That's OD. Like, he thinks he is, and he's really not.
Yes.
That's
yeah.
crazy.
Yes. And the craziest thing, Ryan, is that you don't know 80% of it. Like, this is still just a taste.
This is a big-ass taste, bro. I feel like I'm eating good.
So 2 months pass between Zack's death and the events of the opening of 7.
Yeah.
Which means that within 2 months, Cloud is now like a functioning human being again. Like, operating at, let's call it full strength, because he has like the S cells in him, the Genova cells, whatever. Like, he has effectively been made into a soldier of sorts. Like, it's the same kind of process. So yeah, like, Zack could like, them passing at the end of Advent Children and at the end of 7 Remake, that may not be an alternate timeline. That could just be rewriting of the past. And because Cloud doesn't know, because he didn't like regain consciousness until some time later, it's not news to him. Like, there's no revelation for him to have, because he just doesn't know.
Yeah, like, that Mako messed him up good. Like, his brain is like mush when it comes to a lot of these moments.
So if you think, like, and this episode's getting long, but
yeah, it's like a finale.
Yeah, if you think, right, so like, Zack goes to that church, Aerith isn't there for whatever reason. That could be, like, maybe he tried to lay low and get to Sector 5, like, as quietly and as safely as possible, and so it did take him a couple months to get there. That, I feel like that's a huge stretch, just because of the pace at which you can cover ground in Midgar. Like, it's a city, it's not a country, like. But anyway, say that happens, and he shows up the day of the Sector 1 bombing. We know that Aerith is on the plate selling flowers, because she's about to run into Cloud. Okay, here's another thing. This is wild. But I brought this up to you this week, in that in Remake, we know that Sephiroth, likely from the future or something, is attempting to change the events of the past. We sort of know that to be true. But Sephiroth leads Cloud to Aerith's location in the beginning of 7 Remake. Like, his hallucination of Sephiroth or whatever it is leads him to Aerith. The Whispers, the ghosts, are like fighting with Aerith in that moment. But nothing had really changed up until that point. Like, Sephiroth appearing was new, but it wasn't like Cloud wasn't going to the theater district to, like, run into Aerith. Like, nothing had changed up until that point. It was still a 1-to-1 remake at that moment.
Yeah.
What if the Whispers were attempting to get Aerith away from that area because Zack was coming?
Dude, that's what I'm saying, bro. Like, Oh my god, like they're trying, like they, Sephiroth, whoever the powers that be, they don't want them all together. You know what it is?
They want to stop the reunion.
They want to stop the reunion because they're gonna be reborn as shit by the time they try to, because if they're all connected, Sephiroth's literally trying to keep them separated for a specific reason. I bet you
until the moment is right.
Until the moment is right. Oh, he says that. He really says that. But I feel like obviously we defeat him as Cloud and like the rest of the gang at the end of Remake. But like, you know, like, right? That's like, yeah, whatever.
In some portal universe. That is, I hate that that's not explained.
Yeah, they're leaving that up. I'm sure in time
I hate that
it's
like, the game came out in 2020. I hate that it was 2020 and JRPGs were still doing this dumb ass end of game. Everything's gonna get crazy and we're not gonna explain anything. Like,
it's a trope.
How is that still a thing?
Yeah, man.
Like, oh god.
But I feel like, yeah, like what I'm trying to say was like, he doesn't want Cloud and Zack to be together with Aerith, because I think that if they are, he's fucked. Like, Sephiroth's strong as hell, but when you have a functioning Cloud with Zack and Aerith, dude, it makes perfect sense. He doesn't want that to happen. He wants to make sure Cloud does not remember freaking Zack.
What happens? What happens if Zack is the one who kills Aerith?
Holy shit.
Right?
That will,
like, the devs have said that like all the major story beats are going to happen.
Yeah.
Like, this is a remake. Like, we are going to the same places. Things will happen.
Yes.
But they're going to happen a little different.
Yeah. No, that's a great point. That's a great thought to have, and that's fair to even think, because like you said, like even with a remake, the checkpoints of the story, they kind of have to line up in some way.
Right.
So even if it's not Sephiroth that deals the final blow to Aerith, because if we're going to assume that she is the trifecta in this puzzle, right, between her, Zack, and Cloud, and we already know that she goes at some point, but then Sephiroth, like, we get a little bit of time where we get to play as the three of them in a party.
Cloud, Zack, and Aerith.
And Sephiroth does not he's like, no, I can't allow this. But he knows, because he's from wherever part of time, reality, space, whatever, that Aerith dies. He takes that opportunity. He's like, okay, like, I have to figure something out. And like, they have the fight, and like, I wouldn't be surprised if the way Rebirth ends is her death, but it's like, it's not Sephiroth that does it. Like, it's all this big ass battle, and then he dodges Zack's blow or Cloud's.
And it hits Aerith.
And they're the ones that kill Aerith in the end anyway.
Yeah. I was kind of thinking that, like, so in 7, like, I hate that you haven't done this yet.
I know. I'm going
in 7, Sephiroth is controlling Cloud and trying to make Cloud kill her. And like, the party yells at him, and then he snaps out of it. And then Sephiroth comes down and does it himself.
How is it that I literally, like, I have not gotten to this part in the game, and what I just said lines up with what you just said.
Yeah, so it could be, like, what I was saying to my friend was like, like, maybe Cloud snaps out of it, looks up, sees Sephiroth, they fight, but Aerith ends up dying in the fight.
Yeah, somehow.
Yeah.
Like, that remains.
But maybe it's Zack who does it or something. See, the thing is that Aerith knows in Remake. She knows. And, like, she knows.
Yeah.
There's, like, certain parts towards the end of the game, like, when she, like, touches Red 13, he kind of wakes up to it, like, she knows certain things. She has a spiel before she, like, cleanses the portal and they go through, like, she's talking during the Arbiter fights, like, like, she knows things. And so what if she tells Zack, like, I have to die? Like, it has to happen. And like there is likely you're right at this point, man. Like you need to start playing this game again.
You know
like,
what?
I hate to say it, but you have to start playing.
Oh, no. I know. My plan already was after Reunion, I was gonna jump right back into 7. Like during my hiatus,
really have to.
I'm gonna do that.
You are at the moment. You're not at the moment she dies, but you are at the moment where it starts moving.
The rest of the game, like the story.
The rest of the game starts moving. Like you are headed towards. Like you have all the party. Like there's no new characters to be introduced to.
Right.
Like you're ready to go. You're on disc 1 of 3. Like you are not close to the end of the game, but like you are setting in motion the events of the end of the game at this point. Like the next place you're going to is pivotal.
Wait, so her dying is still in disc 1?
Yeah, it's the end of disc 1.
Holy shit. Damn, there's a lot.
She dies, you change discs. Like
wow. That So that makes me
So disc 3 is the final dungeon. Like it's the final dungeon plus all the optional stuff. And like
okay.
You don't lose anything from disc to disc. Like it's not like Final Fantasy 13 that was multi-disc on Xbox where like it's linear and you're just changing discs and moving forward.
Right.
You still have full access to the open world. You get the airship, you get everything, like, but you get who the boss is of disc 2. Well, I actually know, I'm not saying it, but like you do that and then you like arrive at the final dungeon, you like take a rest for the night, and then the change to disc 3 screen comes up. And then you can either go into the final dungeon or do all the optional stuff in the game.
Oh, okay. Okay, yeah. I was under the impression that, like, there was like, it was, like, a whole nother, like, you know, several more acts to go in Disc 3. But it's kind of like the wrap-up. Okay.
Disc 2 has a lot. Like, Disc 2 is more linear, like, in terms of, like, I mean, the whole game is somewhat linear. Like, you're going from place to place to place, but there's an overworld, so you can kind of do whatever you want.
Yeah.
Disc 2 is very much like you have a mission. You need to do that mission. Like, there's not a lot of room for sides.
That makes sense. And I don't mind that stuff at all, you know, because it gives me direction. I like having direction. Like, you know, I look forward to things like that because, like, okay, this is my next objective. I have to do this. Boom. So
yeah. But you do go to, like, brand new places in Disc 2. Like,
okay.
You go to some cool-ass places. And the final dungeon is something that I'm so curious how they're going to do it in whatever part 3 is. Like, because there are rooms in that dungeon where it's like, what? Like, why is this here? And it's, like, easy enough to explain away on a PS1 game because, like, oh, we had these screens as concept art. Let's put them in the final dungeon. You know, like, it's just easy enough to throw the kitchen sink in there.
Yeah.
But, like, the enemies that you're fighting there, the enemies' abilities are, like, cosmic. Like, they are fucking bananas. Like, you fight, like, an undead fucking dinosaur dragon. Like, it's unbelievable. And its ability is a giant question mark that appears in the screen. Like, that's it.
What?
Like, it's so bizarre. And, like, there's rooms where the music is, like, haunting. And, like, I can hear that music in my head. And it's, like, and it's the room that you grind in to master materia. Like, it has the best enemies in the game to master materia. So that music is just burned into my head. And it's so good. But, like, the way the room moves, or the way you move through the room, is odd. Like, it's not reverse gravity or anything, but you just go, like, underwater and above backwater. And then you climb a vine. And you go this way and you go that way. It's, like, very weird. It's, like, the final dungeon is, like, what I'm looking forward to most in this game. With this series. But, yeah. You need to start playing again. And I will play it with you.
Oh, man. Yeah, that kind of that also backs up my whole theory with how they're gonna handle the next few parts, because if Rebirth ends with Aerith's death, then the final part can just be a humongously big, long rest of the game plus whatever else they decide to, like, throw in there, you know?
There is a huge moment that happens even after her death. I think that's where it's gonna end.
Okay. Yeah, that's fair.
And
too.
it's like when the story, like, turns upside down. It's like the revelation that happens right there is very confusing. But like it all gets answered, luckily.
Man, I can't wait. These next several years are gonna be super sick with all this. And just to think, like, all of this is just off of our hype towards Crisis Core.
Right. We started a podcast for Crisis
Reunion.
for a remaster of a okay PSP game.
Yeah. Because I feel like we understand the weight that it now brings to the table with, this
100%.
remake universe. So
all right, well, 91 minutes in.
Yeah.
Closing thoughts. We just talked at length about how this could change, where this could go, which is exactly what I was hoping to get out of this podcast, was this last 45-minute conversation.
Mm-hmm.
I guess, what are you hoping for most out of this? Like, both from a gameplay perspective, having seen snippets of gameplay from these cutscene videos, as well as, like, what's, like, the one story thing that you're looking forward to either change or just to see it updated?
So I'm definitely looking forward to, obviously experiencing it, in my own hands, for the first time since I didn't get to play the original Crisis Core. And even though, like, watching the cutscenes, I got to, like, live it in some format, I feel like I did get to play it because I saw everything happen. I saw the story from start to finish. But even then, for a reunion, I want to be wowed. Similarly to how I was wowed with Remake. Because with Remake, I at least had played enough of the original 7 to kind of have, like, the not the expectation, but, like, I primed myself to be like, okay, like, I've seen this happen, so I should be able to, detect any changes.
Right.
Yes. And and that's exactly what happened. When I was playing Remake, I was very wowed, and I was lost in a very good way, where I was just like, a lot of this is new.
Yeah. And not just, like, fleshing it out new.
You're
it's
right.
like, this is different. Like, going to the Sector 4 weapon depot with Jessie and, like, seeing her parents, that's just, like, fleshing it out. Like, having a motorcycle chase is fleshing it out.
Right.
Like, yeah, that could have happened, but they didn't have enough room on the disc. But, like, there's a lot of shit in that game that's just like, what? Like, why is this here now?
Yeah. And so, and for me, like, I wasn't like any of those fans that was, like, upset or, like, complaining that it wasn't exactly how they remembered it. For me, I was, like, thrilled with getting to experience this for the first time with, everyone else, and say and feel and, just be all excited and be like, whoa, like, what's happening? Like, this is exciting. So with Reunion, I know that, it's obviously not, like, as big as 7 as a whole. I mean, because, 7's a whole...
There's no billboards in Times Square for this game.
Yeah. So, I just hope that really, because I know the graphics are going to be great. I know that the voiceover work is going to be great. I'm sure that the soundtrack, if it's any indication, just looking at how Remake handled their soundtrack for 7, I'm sure Crisis Core are going to be in fine hands.
I really hope the soundtrack is the one thing that I'm looking to see, like, give a new life, because the soundtrack of the PSP game is pretty lackluster. Like, it's very rock and roll heavy, which is totally fine. Like, I don't mind that at all. And, like, it sort of matches Zach's kind of persona in a way. Like, yeah, he's like a rough and tumble sort of dude, like, probably is into rock and roll. I get that, it's fine. But you hear the same track, like, all the fucking time. Like, there's, like, 3 songs in that game. Yeah, there's, like, the little violin song, like that, and then there's just guitars all over the place. Yeah. Can we get something better or something? Yeah, can they reimagine it in a better way. Like I'm
Yeah.
really hoping for that because the music does get old.
Yeah, it's definitely dated for for what you're saying for sure. But I think that if it like any indication as to how they handle remake, I think that they're gonna take they're taking that same care, and I'm hoping they apply it with this as well. And obviously, with all the hype that we're giving reunion into rebirth and beyond, I'm hoping that even if we're wrong on some of the predictions that we're making, if it's something better, like we weren't imagining it or thinking it, I just hope it's good enough and satisfies this void that I have, because like I need to just soak all of this lore and story in. And then on top of all of that, I guess what I'm really looking forward to is just to see where it goes, like see where it goes. And it's so hard for me not to imagine them not giving us something to then look forward to rebirth. Like that's gonna be like a 1% chance that this is a remaster and it's true to the original. There's nothing different at all. Like I find that hard to believe.
Okay. Cool. Well, with that, we will end this podcast here for now. There's no new episode next week. There probably won't be the one the week after, I imagine.
It's
but
Christmas and all that.
Yeah, probably in about 2 weeks, we'll have the spoiler episode. But follow us on Twitter for that and on YouTube. I am going back to New York for Christmas, and Ryan and I are going to attempt to get together and do this in person for the spoiler episode. So you need to play this game a lot faster than you normally play video games because we don't have a lot of time.
Yeah, I'm gonna try my best.
Yeah, and if you are listening to this and you are looking for help in Crisis Core Reunion, you can check out my channel, youtube.com/WeakJohnnyCage. I will be covering this game in depth with guides and walkthroughs for as soon as it comes out. So, if you need any help, head on over there and check me out.
Hey, you want to hit this guy up? He's been doing these walkthroughs and guides forever. He is now, that is a part-time gig for him. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, the most I'm gonna do as far as content for Reunion goes is I'm probably just gonna stream it, and then just upload my playthrough parts to the YouTube channel, just kind of like how I've been doing with God of War. So yeah, check me out. I mean, obviously right here on this channel for all of those parts that come out. And I'm sorry if the parts are like hours and hours and hours on end, but like,
who cares? It's an RPG, bro.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you have any lasting thoughts, though?
I will say this conversation made me look at the ending of Remake in a very different way.
Yes, sir. Got him.
And it would not have been possible had we not like gone back and watched this game.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I feel like in 10 years when this is all done, like, or however long it takes them on the PlayStation 6, like, I really hope we can look back on stuff that we do like this, and, you going back and playing the original, and, like, all these conversations that are to come. Like, I feel like this podcast is, like, we're going to end it with whenever Reunion's over, and then we'll pick it back up with Rebirth. Maybe we'll do some stuff while you're playing the game if you want.
Yeah.
Or while you're playing the original. Then we'll end it. Then if they remake Dirge of Cerberus, we'll do it again. Like, we'll pick this back up. Like, I want this to be a thing that we do, you and I.
Oh, yeah. I'm down.
I just hope that, like, when we look back on it at the end of it all, not like, was it worth it, but, like, was it all enjoyable? Like, what were the highs and lows? I'm just looking forward to that post-credit, like a Marvel movie. Like, you watch the whole Marvel movie for the final 5 seconds. Like,
yo,
like, that's why I'm playing Crisis Core.
And if you are you like me when you see all these people leaving the theater, you're like, frauds.
Oh,
frauds.
I always say, where are you going?
Yeah, right. Like, come on. You haven't been to
The
this
first
game?
thing I usually do is I take out my phone and I say, does this movie have like how many post-credit scenes are in X movie?
Oh, they got an app
And
for
then-
that now. Yeah.
Oh, do they?
Oh yeah, it's called After Credits. I'm pretty sure.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. It's called After Credits. It looks like this, and you just
Oh, that's dope.
you just type in the movie, and then boom, they have a section for during and after, and then people like vote in to say like if they do or not, and you'll be able to tell.
Cool. I never knew about that.
But okay, there's one last thing that I wanted to say because I wanted to say before and I forgot. But the other thing that we both did not really mention a lot of, and we can cut this as soon as I say it as kind of like a lingering like afterthought for the people that are watching and listening. I want to know if anything differently changes with Angeal and Genesis.
As characters.
Because again, the whole reunion name.
We did not talk about that. You're right.
Didn't.
We did not consider them as part of the changes.
And on
Damn.
Yeah, that could be a whole nother hour right there.
Okay. We will pick it up there when we do the spoiler episode later this month.
Yes, sir.
Write that down.
Nah, I won't forget. So it's been your boy Ooch, man, Sweet Johnny Cage. Follow us on our Twitters. Links in the description below. As always, make sure you guys take care of yourselves. May the power protect, keep you locked, loaded right here on this recast. Stay safe, stay clean, and stay the hell inside. We'll see you guys next time.
I've been waiting for this.